Part 48. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 471. How could it be? The third broken sword fragment. The ancient Abyss Lords were completely stunned. It was a great fortune to accidentally get such a powerful fragment. Why did this human have the third one? It was hidden so deeply. Since there was a third one, would there be a fourth one? A fifth one? They panicked. This kind of power was enough to arouse the fear in their hearts. The Light and Shadow Lord was pierced, and the Tgtnd sword fragment that was dodged before immediately turned back and completely annihilated the origin of the Light and Shadow Lord. Su Xian flashed to the place where the Light and Shadow Lord was annihilated. Another Chaos Stone was obtained. He gave the 2 Chaos Stones he got for the first time to 2 disciples and returned 2 Tgtnd sword fragments. Later, in the last battle with Lulan Star, he got another Chaos Stone from 2 Luo of the Mechanical Life clan, and the most recent one was obtained from the Blood-Killing Lord during the first Abyss invasion. He gave the 2 Chaos Stones to his eldest disciple Zhongmu and 4th disciple Sun Xiaokong respectively. He also got 2 more Tgtnd sword fragments. Together with the previous 2, he now has 4 Tgtnd sword fragments in his hand. If today's battle goes well, he can get 7. Why hasn't Lord Zalong come yet? 7 monarchs, now 3 are dead. What a shame is this. The 4 ancient monarchs, Lord Chiming, Lord Huangquan, Lord Xuanyu, and Lord Devouring, dared not take the initiative to suppress, and chose a defensive style of play instead. Just waiting for Lord Zalong to come. Lord Zalong has received the transcendent baptism of the God of the Abyss, and his strength will be far superior to them. I'm afraid only Lord Zalong can fight this human. I thought the female human I met at the beginning was already the limit of the low-level life world. Unexpectedly, the means of this person in front of them completely subverted their cognition. The battle continued. The 4 monarchs resisted hard. Until a certain moment, there was movement again at the end of the passage, and a dragon roar shocked, and Lord Zalong finally came. Su Xian looked there. This time, Lord Zalong no longer appeared as an old man, but as a dragon. A real dragon with 2 different colored pupils. 2 pupils, one can affect space, and the other can affect time. The fragments of Tgtnd sword flew out, and the world was directly distorted, which made the flying speed of the broken sword fragments extremely slow. Affecting time and space, even if it is only an area, is still terrifying. Su Xian. You angered the great god of the Abyss. The old voice of Lord Zalong came. Now is the time for you to swallow the bitter fruit. The great god of the Abyss gave you a chance, but you chose to stand on the opposite side of the god of the Abyss for vanity, just for a group of insignificant and lowly lives? You. Unforgivable. A strange light bloomed in Zalong's 2 pupils, distorting a large area, and the fragments of Tgtnd sword were also affected. It's not that the power of the Tgtnd sword fragment is not as strong as Zalong's power of time and space, but Su Xian was affected and could no longer perfectly control this weapon. Kill him. The 4 Abyss Lords saw this and immediately rushed towards Su Xian. With Zalong Lords restrained, they were finally able to turn the disadvantage around and continue to surround and kill Su Xian. The power of the God of the Abyss. God slave. He. Su Xian looked at Zalong Lord calmly. Of course his methods were more than that. The third form is not enough. Then the 4th form. Boom. At this moment, the world channel trembled suddenly. The vast world's origin power rushed into the channel from all directions. Today's world tree can not only defend one place. It can not only bring its will to those who are recognized. The gain obtained by Su Xian, the master, is even more unimaginable. Before, Su Xian did not use this method because he was afraid that the 3 unstable worlds would further collapse during the fusion stage. At this point in the battle, he could not care so much. He could only use some trump cards slightly. The power of the origin of the three life worlds. How is it possible? The ancient Abyss monarchs were shocked by this scene. A human? Why can he mobilize the origin of the Abyss world? How can a mere human be qualified to be recognized by other life worlds? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Emperor Zilong was in a daze. He could clearly feel the power of the human in front of him that had merged with the origin of the Abyss world. Doesn't this mean the life world he was in supported the life in the blue star world in front of him to kill them? No. Emperor Zilong pondered, it must be the fusion of the three life forms that caused some changes. Swoosh. The restrained Taiji sword loosened again. The origin of the three life worlds surged in Su Xian's body. This feeling made him feel comfortable and painful. If he hadn't been carrying the prototype of the chaos body, someone else would have been blown up long ago. The loose fragments went straight to Emperor Huangquan. Emperor Zilong wanted to resist, but the other two fragments of the Taiji sword were directly against his eyes, forcing him to return to defense. Poof. Lord Zilong blocked it, but Lord Huangquan was pierced directly. Lord Huangquan and Lord Chiming were good at the soul aspect, and their speed, strength, and defense were far inferior to the previous monarchs who were killed. They were completely unable to resist Su Xian's attack. The Taiji sword fragments were too sharp, cutting off everything and suppressing everything. The power of the Abyss could not resist them. After being penetrated by one blow, they were destined to not escape the second blow. Su Xian finally took out the fourth fragment. He completely harvested the life of the Yellow Spring Lord, and at the same time appeared at the place where he fell, holding the Chaos Stone in one hand and putting it in his pocket. The fourth one. Su Xian looked at the Chi Meng Lord, it's your turn next. With the blessing of the three world origins, Su Xian manipulated two Taiji sword fragments in each hand, resisting the interference of the Candle Dragon Lord with his left hand, and killing the other three lords with his right hand. Like the Yellow Spring Lord, the Chi Meng Lord could not escape the harvest of the broken sword fragments and eventually died. Candle Dragon Lord, hope is in you. We will assist you. The remaining Swanyu Lord and Devouring Lord also recognized the reality. Only by creating opportunities for the Candle Dragon Lord with their lives can they have a chance to defeat the human in front of them. They can die. But they must also defend the honor of the life of the Abyss. Roar. The Abyss Monarch turned into a huge mouth of the Abyss, covering Su Xian. At this moment, he had no weakness, and his vitality was rapidly fading, just to temporarily trap Su Xian. The feather thorns on the body of the Swanyu monarch also condensed into black and purple, and also condensed life. The two monarchs only hoped to use the strongest attack of their lives to gain a chance for the Candle Dragon monarch and win this battle for the Abyss. They could see that this human was also approaching his limit. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 472. The killing blows of the Devouring Monarch and the Black Feather Monarch did cause some trouble for Su Xian. Has it split? Su Xian could no longer sense the Devouring Monarch's weakness. But for him, this was actually a better opportunity. He had not used the previous moves in the duels with the ancient Abyss Monarchs, but that did not mean that those skills were useless. Dowdy Forbidden Technique. Compared to Devouring? When Su Xian was enfeoffed as a Marquis, his domain was forged with Devouring as its characteristic, including the characteristics of the Chaos Origin Stone Black Hole. The shadow of Dowdy appeared behind him. Roar. The growing Dowdy directly submerged the Devouring Monarch. In this state, the Devouring Monarch did not even have the ability to resist, and obviously did not expect Su Xian to have such a move. Doesn't he have any weakness at all? The Black Feather Monarch was quite desperate. The death of other ancient monarchs made him feel a sense of grief for the death of the rabbit and the fox. The defeat was too humiliating. He was completely crushed from beginning to end. Whoosh! The dark purple feather thorn shot out, exerting the most violent stab in this life, burning the life of the Swanyu monarch. Only the last roar remained in the air. Zalong! Kill him! Whoosh! The power of the feather thorn was extremely great. In addition, Su Xian needed to use his mind to suppress the devouring monarch who had not yet been refined, so the power of manipulating the Taiji Tiandi sword fragment was greatly weakened. The first Taiji Tiandi sword fragment was directly knocked away by the feather thorn. Then the second one. After removing part of the power of the feather thorn, the second fragment was also bounced away, and the other two broken sword fragments were restrained by the Zalong monarch. The dark purple feather thorn came straight to Su Xian. After all, this was the strongest attack of the Swanyu monarch. Su Xian did not dare to underestimate the enemy too much, and controlled the Qinji shield to block in front, but the Qinji shield was pierced a little, and the feather thorn flew at a faster speed. But at this point, Su Xian could only slap with his bare hands. With his talent energy overload, he blocked most of the attacks, and finally ended the battle with the 7 monarchs at the cost of a wound on his arm. The lives of the 7 ancient monarchs successfully exchanged for Su Xian's minor injuries. 2 chaos stones fell into Su Xian's hands and were put into his pocket. The battle of the 9 strongest. Now only he and the Lord of Candle Dragon are left. Boom! The Lord of Candle Dragon, who had been accumulating strength for a long time, suddenly opened his eyes. His heterochromatic pupils turned completely purple at this moment, and even the form and moves of the attack changed. The strength and speed were also improved again. Whoosh! Before Su Xian could react, the attack of the Lord of Candle Dragon was already in front of him. A kick that condensed countless source forces, without any energy leakage, kicked towards Su Xian's head. Su Xian only had time to raise his hand instinctively, and the whole person was taken away by the huge force. Such a posture is obviously a world of difference from the previous Lord of Candle Dragon. Lord Zalong looked at Su Xian again. The surprise in his eyes had disappeared, replaced by contempt, as if Su Xian was just an ant in front of him. Seeing this look, Su Xian understood something. God of the Abyss. He looked directly into the other's eyes. Lord Zalong suddenly became so strong. He could not think of any other reason except that Lord of the Abyss played for him. Facing Su Xian's doubts, the opponent just smiled coldly. In his eyes, Su Xian was not qualified to let him answer. Whoosh! 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 Lord Zalong came again, without any fancy moves, only attacks that condensed the source power to the extreme. Any move that failed could shatter thousands of miles of chaotic land. The entire world channel has completely fallen into an irregular state. Even the king may die if he enters here. The battle between the two sides has approached the limit that a living world can bear. Bang! Another punch. Su Xian was beaten back again. It seems that he still underestimated the power of the Lord of the Abyss. Just relying on a trace of soul power to control the body of the Lord of the Candle Dragon can cause such a qualitative change. It is impossible to imagine how strong the real Lord of the Abyss is. No wonder he can integrate the super life world of the Abyss into the godhood. Then come and fight as much as you want. Su Xian didn't care about so much. If he didn't show his style here, only destruction would be waiting for him. The world tree sensed the call of the master, and at this moment it continued to expand, withdrawing the will support for all disciples, and condensing all the will to Su Xian. At the same time, the origin energy of the 3 worlds was also poured into Su Xian's body under the mobilization of the world tree. Various nearly materialized origin forces on Su Xian's body jumped. It seemed that he had reached the limit of endurance. 4 fragments of the Taiji Tiandi sword returned to Su Xian's hands. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Su Xian also wanted to try how big the gap between him and the Lord of the Abyss was. He had wanted to do things like killing gods a long time ago. As long as I get rid of these gods, there shouldn't be anything that can affect my life, right? Whoosh. The Lord of Candle Dragon attacked again. The same move, but this time it was directly blocked by the fragments of the Taiji Emperor sword. Bang. 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 One move was blocked. The Lord of Candle Dragon kicked out 3 more times at a completely invisible speed, but it still didn't work. The 4 broken sword fragments complemented each other, and it seemed to temporarily form a new sword. Su Suangsu held the sword between nothingness and reality. It was the main skill God and Ghost Absolute Heaven Blade. Only this move could deal with this so-called Lord of the Abyss. Swish. Su Xian finally began to take the initiative to counterattack. Holding the God and Ghost Absolute Heaven Blade of Nothingness, his perception of the world was improved by more than 1 degree. He did not need to see with his eyes, but could sense everything in his heart. Human. You do have some skills. The Lord of the Abyss spoke again. I am willing to give you another chance. Become my slave and give up these weak and humble lives. Your thoughts will be completely sublimated. Su Xian looked into the eyes of Lord of the Candle Dragon. The deep purple in his pupils was shocking. When you can really stand here and talk to me, I might consider it. Su Xian waved the sword of nothingness in his hand. Relying on the restraint of the God and Ghost Absolute Heaven Blade, Lord of the Candle Dragon gradually fell into a disadvantage. As Su Xian said, it was just a body controlled by a wisp of mental power. He was not qualified to fight him to the end. The World Tree, the God and Ghost Absolute Heaven Blade, the Taiji Emperor Sword Fragment. These things, in their complete state, can pose a fatal threat to the Abyss Lord's body, and the mere Candle Dragon Lord naturally cannot resist. Su Xian already had the foundation to fight against the Abyss Lord. What he lacked was the realm of completely controlling this power. When this invasion war is over and the disciples are promoted again, I'm afraid the time will be almost right. The crazy battle between the two sides completely collapsed the largest fusion point of the 2 worlds, but the fusion of the 2 worlds did not weaken because of this, but began to intensify extremely. The collapse of this point. What promoted the fusion of more places? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 473. It is unknown how long the 2 sides fought. How many times they attacked. It seems that there is an endless supply of power to support them. The 3 realms are constantly shaking at this moment, which has affected the battles in other areas. Even the stable areas of Blue Star have felt obvious vibrations. What happened? That is the battle between His Majesty Su Xian and several ancient monarchs of the Abyss. How terrible! Is His Majesty Su Xian so strong? There are so many monarchs of the Abyss. I don't know if His Majesty Su Xian can hold on alone. I want to help him so much. It's a pity that no one is qualified to enter his battlefield at this moment. Countless people exclaimed. Looking at the battlefield covered with dark clouds, thunder and lightning, and even blood rain from time to time. The center of the battlefield has long forgotten everything. Until a certain moment, the blade of nothingness in Su Xian's hand exploded, and the 4 fragments of the Taiji Tiandi sword turned into an ultimate sharp blade, fiercely piercing into the chest of the Lord Zilong. The original power of Lord Zilong continued to dissipate at this moment. The purple in the pupils of the Candle Dragon Lord also dissipated. The Lord regained his pupils, but his eyes were less lively. Lord of the Abyss. Nothing more than that. Su Xian waved his hand, and the fragments of the Taiji Emperor sword completely absorbed the vitality of the Candle Dragon Lord. The latter's body turned into ashes and dissipated. A chaos stone fell into Su Xian's hands. Boom! Above the sky, the terrifying pressure came in an instant, almost crushing the entire sky. The extremely powerful aura made all the figures in the three realms tremble. They seemed to see a burly purple god. Su Xian's words just now completely angered the Lord of the Abyss. Come on. Come harder. Su Xian narrowed his eyes, allowing the terrifying pressure to rage around him, but it could not affect him at all. He did it on purpose. Probing. Constantly testing the bottom line of the gods. The moment he thoroughly understood the bottom line of the gods was the moment when he began to kill the gods. Human, you have angered me. You will bear my wrath. Boom. The membrane of the world channel was directly penetrated, and a force that seemed to annihilate the world rushed out from the other end of the world membrane, and was about to kill Su Xian. Finally, I can use you. Go. Dumb penguin. The destructive light column submerged Su Xian, penetrated the entire ultimate battlefield, and then rushed to the blue star, spreading to the edge of the blue star, destroying everything it passed. After a long time, the light column dissipated. Su Xian still stood in the same place. Only the bubble on the head of the dumb penguin burst. The poor penguin was confused, and the fluff on the surface of the body was greatly reduced. He could only look at Su Xian, the master, pitifully, with confusion in his eyes. What happened? It's nothing for you, go back to sleep. After using it, Su Xian sent the penguin into the life space. From the beginning, he discovered that the dumb penguin was thick-skinned and thick-fleshed, and it was not until today that it finally came in handy. The world tree is so hard. It's not too much for the silly penguin to work for him. The next moment, the power outside the world channel was even more violent, as if to annihilate him and the world channel that was about to collapse. Are you going to come again? Su Xian frowned. He angered the god of the abyss, naturally not to see the god of the abyss destroy the world, but to test the attitudes of the other chess players. Only in this way can he have a chance to develop a wave of development. Complete the comeback. Otherwise, the story will end here. 3, 2, 1. Su Xian counted silently in his heart. When the power of the Lord of the Abyss was about to descend again, a giant tower filled with thunder and lightning appeared in the sky, blocking the Lord of the Abyss. Aesai, enough. The old voice came. Su Xian also saw the figure on the giant tower filled with thunder and lightning. It was the old man who conveyed the message through Becky that day and asked him to stop the war, and the messenger of God called the Great Maker by the mechanical life race. Sure enough. Su Xian breathed a sigh of relief. This move was the right one. It was really exciting to use the player as a chess piece. Fortunately, it was successful, otherwise, if he lost one step, he would lose everything. In his mind, part of the game had already begun. The God Messenger Maker and the God Messenger crying I should be in a cooperative relationship, but both sides should have their own plans and are not a solid block. These God Messengers and the Lord of the Abyss are in a competitive relationship. Perhaps the Lord of the Abyss is also in the calculations of the crying eye. In this way, he must define the concept of God Messenger. At first, in his concept, the God Messenger was just an apostle of God, and should be much weaker than the real God, but now it seems to be completely the case. He must extract more information from his limited cognition. Otherwise, how can he use the player as a chess piece? After the Maker appeared, the conversation between the two gods had disappeared, and he could no longer extract information. Thunder rumbled in the sky. The Maker confronted the Lord of the Abyss. Aesai, don't forget the agreement between us. You have violated the rules this time. If it happens again, we don't mind kicking you out first. Although the Creator is a withered old man, his momentum is not much weaker than that of the Lord of the Abyss. The giant tower filled with thunder and lightning behind him exuded a terrifying aura. Humph! How dare a mere human offend me? The Lord of the Abyss spoke coldly. That can only be blamed on the inferior skills of the Abyss life. The Maker sneered, Don't forget how you swore when you agreed on the rules, but now you are breaking the rules on the grounds of offense. It's just a small punishment. The Lord of the Abyss said, I have to say that the Eye of Weeping is very calculating. He actually used this method to trick me. If he continues to do so, he will suffer the consequences. Then you don't have to worry about it, the Maker said calmly. Remember, don't violate the rules again. Otherwise, don't blame that person for taking action. You should know the consequences. Since I promised, I will naturally not break it again. The Lord of the Abyss nodded. Seeing this, the giant thunder tower behind the Maker gradually dissipated, and the Maker also disappeared. Boom! At the moment the Maker disappeared, a purple ring of destruction on the arm of the Lord of the Abyss suddenly shot towards the ultimate battlefield of the fusion of the three realms. The target was Su Xian, who was still there. You. The Creator was furious. As a god, you are so despicable. He could only watch the divine ring falling towards Su Xian under the sky. He wanted to stop it, but it was too late. Looking at the falling divine ring, the Lord of the Abyss smiled smugly. I said, it's just a small punishment. If I really want to kill him, do you think you are qualified to stop me? Tell the crying eye that if you plot against me, you must think about the consequences first. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 474. On the crumbling battlefield, Su Xian was staring at the sky. Seeing the lightning tower disappear, he thought he was safe, but an extremely dangerous aura suddenly hit him. At the moment when the sense of crisis arose, something flew close to him. It was a purple halo. Puff! The purple halo instantly penetrated his body and then disappeared. He couldn't even block it. But he didn't suffer any damage. He just felt that the power in his body was rapidly fading away. To be more precise, something solidified into shackles in his body, imprisoning all the power in his body. What is this method? Without thinking, Su Xian also knew that it was the work of the Lord of the Abyss. The other party should have taken advantage of the Creator's unpreparedness to attack, but in the end he didn't dare to go too far and just bound him. Do you think my existence will crush the Abyss? Su Xian probably guessed the Lord of the Abyss's purpose. If he could attack at will, the Abyss would have no chance of winning. If he didn't attack, the Abyss might still have a chance to defeat Blue Star. Even if the 8 oldest monarchs are all dead, the strength of the Abyss cannot be underestimated. It seems that the connection between the Abyss World and Blue Star and Lowland Star is a conspiracy between the Lord of the Abyss and the messenger behind it, or the Lord of the Abyss was forced to step into the conspiracy circle of the Crying Eye. The restraint in the body is getting stronger and stronger. Su Xian dare not neglect it and flies out immediately. If the power is completely restrained, I am afraid that the chaotic energy here will pose a threat to him. The safest way at present is to return to Dingai King City first. Whoosh! As soon as Su Xian came out of the World Channel, he was noticed by countless people. Too many people are paying attention to this battle and want to see what the final result will be. His Majesty Su Xian is out. Really? Why does he look so embarrassed? Is it possible that even His Majesty Su Xian was defeated? Can't stop those ancient Abyss monarchs. Countless strong men are panicking. 8 ancient Abyss lords have been killed. All soldiers of the Blue Star Alliance continue to execute combat orders according to the original plan. Su Xian directly used the permission of the Sky Eye system to issue orders to all Blue Star headquarters. This order made countless soldiers ecstatic. Although the battle in front of him was still difficult, the 8 oldest Abyss lords had been killed. What difficulties could not be overcome? His Majesty Su Xian should be injured. Really great. It's terrible to fight against 8 ancient Abyss lords alone and kill them all. It's inevitable to be injured. Yes. Brothers, His Majesty Su Xian has done too much for us. We can't always rely on him. This is not the blue star of His Majesty Su Xian alone, but the blue star of all our human soldiers. Next, let His Majesty Su Xian rest and leave the battle to us. Countless soldiers who have experienced life and death battles on the front line know Su Xian's hard work. They know how unforgettable the battle Su Xian encountered in the ultimate battlefield is. His Majesty Su Xian's victory is already a great fortune for Blue Star. As human beings, they cannot rely on His Majesty for everything, and they should also abide by their own posts. Running all the way. When Su Xian returned to Dingai King City, his power was also completely sealed. In addition to his strong body, his power has been completely sealed by the divine ring of the Lord of the Abyss, and it is difficult to participate in the next battle. Perhaps this is exactly the purpose of the Lord of the Abyss. Su Xian. Seeing her husband coming back, Lin Suiying, who was pregnant, hurried out of the room with a big belly, full of worry. How could she not understand her husband? Coming back at this time must have encountered an irresistible event. Although Su Xian did not have any injuries, but... Suiying. Su Xian smiled bitterly, I may have to stay at home for a while. I encountered some problems in the Abyss battlefield, but the problems are not big, and they are all solved. Did a god take action? Lin Suiying's knowledge far exceeds those demigods. After all, her teacher is also one above the heavenly rank. She can still guess some things. Now, the only thing that can threaten her husband is those illusory gods who have never appeared but really exist. Yes, Su Xian nodded, but don't worry too much. With all parties involved, we have a chance to break out of the siege. You have paid so much and done what you should do. Lin Suiying's eyes were as gentle as water, and she leaned on her husband. If there are any uncontrollable things next, you can't be blamed. In my heart, you are the best husband, the best father, and the most powerful hero. From beginning to end, she never blamed Su Xian. Whether Su Xian needed her wings to protect him when he was weak, or when her husband was strong and could stand tall, she always felt that her husband had done the best. Thank you. The two hugged each other. Su Xian also abandoned all the distractions in his mind. Let him play the game of gods or let the chaotic universe evolve, at this moment he only wants to enjoy the tenderness of his wife. The baby should be born soon, right? Su Xian counted the days. Even though he was in a tense battle, he still didn't forget these. 9 months and 5 days. The couple said in unison. Su Xian squatted down and put his head on his wife's bulging belly. He could already feel the obvious movement in the belly. The two little lives seemed to be eager to come out. Very naughty. Su Xian smiled and helped Lin Suiying to sit on a chair beside him. Husband, do you think our child will have superpowers like the blood evolution system when he is born? Lin Suiying asked. I don't know. Su Xian shook his head. Most of the human race are acquired cultivation, and the innate constitution can only be awakened slowly, probably not. But they are your children, Su Xian. Lin Suiying smiled sweetly, you are different from others, right? Husband. Su Xian is so amazing, and Lin Suiying certainly doesn't believe that there are no secrets on him. But as a wife, she never explores these things. She believes that one day Su Xian will tell her, maybe that day will be very late. But as long as love does not disappear, no matter which day it is, it will be a romantic and ritualistic happy event. My wife is not bad either. Su Xian smiled. He is indeed different, with the prototype of the chaos body. Suiying's body has also evolved, with the water-moon factor, which are factors that may affect the baby. The fruit of their love may be an unprecedented human baby. Oh, right. There is one more very important thing. Lin Suiying smiled and said, since you have been very busy, I didn't tell you. Can you think about what it is? Of course I know. Su Xian touched his wife's belly, we haven't decided on a name for our baby yet, and I've been thinking about it. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 475. It's a headache to think of a baby name. Lin Suying rubbed her head. I asked Xylee and Wai Wei to come up with a suitable name, but we couldn't think of a suitable name. After thinking about it, it's better to give such a difficult task to you as a father. Haha, I don't have any experience. Su Xian laughed. Speaking of which, it was you who came up with the name of Xylee. Lucky little koi is very good. If it weren't for this lucky little koi, maybe we wouldn't be together. Lin Suying pouted. You just want to pass on the blame. It's you who wants to have a baby, and it's you who is too lazy to think of a name. Forget it, let's be fair. I want a name for a daughter, and you want a name for a son. The couple discussed. No matter how violent the battle was outside, they were immersed in a little happiness at the moment. It's a pity that Moira is not here. Su Xian smiled. Doesn't she want to be the child's godmother? And she's a great prophet. She's lived for so long, she can definitely provide some good suggestions. Lin Suying raised her eyebrows. You're still thinking about others when naming the child. Think quickly. Su Xian was righteous. If you ask me, the child is an accident, and the wife is the true love. So corny. Lin Suying looked disgusted on the surface, but was happy in her heart, and leaned closer to Su Xian. Wife, why don't we take little koi as the core and decide on the name? Su Xian thought about it. Look. The meaning of Xylee to us is self-evident. If it weren't for Xylee, we might have taken a completely different path. I hope our child can continue to bring us Xylee's luck. Lin Suying covered her mouth and laughed. You really don't want to think too much, and you're so careless when you become a father, but it does make some sense. Xylee is not only our daughter, but also a witness to our journey. The poor child has not yet been born. The parents were already getting careless in their discussion. Su Xian clapped his hands. That's it? The son will be named Su Xiaojin, and the daughter will be named Su Xiaoxiao, which means little koi. Lin Suying rolled her eyes a few times. What if the child blames us for the bad name after it's born? You'll have to take the blame. When they grow up, if they're not satisfied, they can go to the bureau to change their names. It's okay as long as we call it something that's easy to pronounce. Besides, this name isn't too bad, is it? Su Xian hugged his wife and admired her beauty. We gave them our best genes, which is good. It seems to be the case. Lin Suying nodded. The couple reached a consensus. Time passed day by day. The days of accompanying his wife at home were leisurely. Su Xian also took on the cooking and other tasks, and took good care of his wife. Lin Suying, who was already very plump, had already shown some signs of gaining weight. Women are women after all. This matter is nothing to Lin Suying, the strongest king, but this silly woman can worry about it for a long time. She often regrets whether she has chosen her children's names too hastily. The former strong woman would also chatter in the middle of the night and confide some nonsensical troubles to Su Xian. Maybe this is. One pregnancy makes people stupid for 3 years, right? Su Xian never gets tired of it. Accustomed to high-intensity battles, he enjoys this kind of life instead. He only thinks that his chattering wife is also very cute, and the family life is full of happiness. Outside the royal city, the battle between Blue Star and the Abyss is still going on. Without Su Xian's pillar, the Blue Star side is indeed at a disadvantage, but in the face of the surging attack of the Abyss, they still defended with difficulty. Although he can no longer use any power, through the mental connection with the World Tree, he can already control the battle information of the entire 3 realms. The eldest disciple Zhang Mu, who got the Chaos Stone, performed very well on the battlefield. When he returned strongly, he killed 2 Abyss Monarchs. Now he has killed 4 Abyss Lords in succession. Not only Zhang Mu, but Yin Xiaoshuang has also been promoted under Zhang Mu's care. Because the two of them are of the same mind and bloodline, Xiaoshuang is almost pulled by Zhang Mu to fly. It is estimated that in the near future, Yin Xiaoshuang may also try to impact the semi-god realm. Xyli is guarding near Dingai King City. No matter who he sees, he will hit him with a hammer. With the full support of the will of the World Tree, the Abyss Lord is not Xyli's opponent. The name of the Hammer King is Earth-Shaking. The third brother Xianyu and Qing is still conducting research and development behind the scenes. According to the Abyss Life data samples provided every day, a huge gene library has been established. With these data, she continues to improve anti-Abyss weapons, which are changing with each passing day, and can bring different surprises to the Abyss Life almost every day. Although Qing did not go to the battlefield, from the overall contribution, she is the undisputed first except Su Xian. The new generation of anti-Abyss weapons can not only play a great role in high-level battlefields, but also save the lives of countless soldiers in low-level battlefields. The God of Green God has been recognized by the warriors of the entire Blue Star Alliance. If it weren't for her, even if Su Xian turned the tide, too many people would still die at the bottom. Sun Xiaokong also made rapid progress after obtaining the Chaos Stone, maintaining a terrifying record of fighting for a month without sleeping, relying on the support of the special life field and the characteristics of the fighting saint body to fight his way out. It is estimated that it will not take long before Sun Xiaokong can also enter the demigod realm. As for the fifth Miao Tian, there is no need to say more. The death of several ancient monarchs made him the strongest single person in the entire battlefield, and few monarchs could compete with him. As a candidate for the Ghost Messenger, he is destined to stand at the top. Perhaps the future will be very confusing. But at this moment, he is dazzling enough. The sixth found a lot of opportunities under the integration of the new world. After all, it belongs to a very special race and needs to rely on external forces to promote. With the guidance of the god's inheritance, coupled with the devouring evolution these days, its combat power is comparable to that of the weakest demigod. The seventh Nicolin has not changed much and is still responsible for the command in the rear. It's just that her emotions are becoming more and more stable. She is no longer happy or crying like before, which will directly affect a bunch of people around her. The eighth Wuxin keeps changing battlefields. In terms of group battles, the eighth is still the undisputed god of group battles. As long as he is there, the low-end battlefield has never lost, but he will not stay in one place all the time. Su Xian guessed that Wuxin should still be piecing together soul particles, still wanting to revive his mother. Finally, it was Miss Xiaju Yuaya. Yuaya's combat power varied too much. Even if her real combat power was constantly improving, she would not be able to reach the high-end battlefield in a short time. Only under the moonlight could she exert her extremely terrifying combat power. After learning about the disciples' information, Su Xian felt much more at ease. Next, it was time for the disciples to fight hard and repay their teacher. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 476. The battle continued. As the disciples broke through one after another, Su Xian also felt the loosening of the restraints in his body, but there was still a gap. The gap between the pseudo-god realm and the god realm is too huge. Even with the return of the system, the disciples still could not help him break through the last layer before they had undergone a qualitative change. The current situation seems that Blue Star has resisted the attack of the Abyss, but in fact, undercurrents are surging. As long as there is any accident, the human race of Blue Star may fall into a situation of defeat. Days passed, and the day when Lin Suying's 10-month pregnancy ended was getting closer and closer. The two little lives became more active and could be born at any time. Su Xian was too lazy to care about the outside world. He waited for the arrival of the little life with all his heart. Now everyone is in a tense battle, and they have not informed any relatives and friends of these things. One morning, Su Xian, who had just made breakfast, suddenly felt a sense of intuition. He quickly ran to the room, only to see his wife Lin Suiying curled up in pain at the head of the bed, sweating profusely, and the breath of the two little lives became more and more obvious. It was obvious that they were about to give birth. At their level, they didn't even need a midwife. Accompanied by two cries, two little lives were born. I'm a father. Su Xian's head was buzzing. No, I've been a father for a long time. Xiaoli was his daughter after all, but this feeling was still a little different. It had nothing to do with preference, maybe. It was more involved. When he came to the head of the bed, there were two little lives, one boy and one girl. The brother was born first, and the sister was a little slower, both with their eyes closed. You've worked hard, Suiying. After taking a look at the two babies, Su Xian leaned over and kissed his wife's forehead. Lin Suiying's face was pale. Even for a strong person of such a level, giving birth still seemed to be a bit of a burden for her. The brother should be 6.8 Jin, and the sister should be 6.2 Jin. Lin Suiying smiled. Not fat or thin, very good. Su Xian smiled, hugged the two little lives, weighed them in his hands, just a little ugly. Lin Suiying rolled her eyes at him. Newborn babies are like this, they will be beautiful as they grow up slowly. I really look forward to the two children growing up quickly. This is what being a mother is like. Looking forward to the birth of children, looking forward to the children growing up, looking forward to the children being successful. Wow wow wow. The two children cried hard. Take them out first, I'll tidy up. Lin Suiying smiled. Okay. Of course Su Xian knew what Lin Suiying was going to do. Love beauty. Being a mother is also loving beauty. Holding the children in his hands, Su Xian could feel the strong blood connection. Surprisingly, he had the same feeling from time to time when he held Xiaoli before. No way. Su Xian smiled to himself, just as if it was an illusion. He felt it carefully. The vitality of the two children was very strong. Even though the human race doesn't value bloodline, genetic inheritance still exists. When he and Lin Suiying gave birth to this child, they were already the strongest kings. Their physiques are also very special. The two children are likely to have abilities different from ordinary people. Call Dad. Call Dad. Holding the two children, Su Xian was in a good mood. A gruff voice came from behind. Lin Suiying had dressed up and restored her former gorgeous face. Compared with the past, her mature charm was stronger. After all, she was a fake mother before. Now she is considered a real wife. How can a child know to call Dad as soon as he is born? Lin Suiying rolled her eyes. Let me hug you too. Dad, Dad. At this time, the child in his arms spoke. Although the voice was not standard, it sounded like the voice of calling Dad. Our children are so smart. Lin Suiying was stunned for a moment, and then said excitedly, Good baby, I am Mom, call Mom. Both were amused by the children. The two of them were very excited to take care of the baby for the first time, and they studied it for a whole day. It was not until noon that the two children fell asleep, and the two who were enjoying it reluctantly let go. Lin Suiying turned out a lot of clothes from the room, big and small, of all kinds. Look, husband. These are all the clothes I prepared for the babies, from 1 to 5 years old. These days, Lin Suiying was bored and knitted countless clothes at home. She smiled. Have you prepared a birth gift for the baby? Of course. Su Xian smiled and took out a bunch of strange things from the system space. Look. Clothes prepared for my son, and a little skirt prepared for my daughter. Lin Suiying's mouth twitched. The little dress I prepared for my daughter is barely acceptable, but what is this for my son? Are you going to raise him as a savage? Su Xian handed the dress forward. Touch it, it's woven with leaves and branches of the world tree. Those top kings outside are crying with envy. Only my children, Su Xian, can enjoy this treatment. Lin Suying looked up at the world tree, as if she could sense some of its emotions. World tree, well, that's probably what it means. Since the world tree grew up, it has taken care of their family's food, clothing, housing, and transportation. When cooking, they put some world tree leaves to enhance the fragrance, and their clothes are woven with world tree. They even sleep on the world tree. There are better gifts. Su Xian smiled and found 2 amulets from a pile of gifts. This is made of chaos stone, which has the attributes of time and space. In the battle with Lord Zilong, I felt the clever application of these 2 powers. It's just right to give it to the child, and I have 2 skills that match it. Lin Suying was stunned. Chaos stone. Su Xian also gave her a chaos stone. She clearly realized how powerful chaos stone was. It was something that the strong men in the demigod realm dreamed of. It has the power to turn decay into magic. My husband used it as a birth gift for 2 children. Sure enough, even if they were married. I was still shocked by Mr. Su every day. You win. Lin Suying didn't know whether to laugh or cry. From this point of view, the gift I gave as a mother seems to be really not good. How could it be? Su Xian hugged his wife. Bringing them to this world and giving them life is already the best gift. Su Xian also envied his cubs. He was born with a great fortune, possessing treasures that even the world's top bosses have never had. The battle outside is still going on. He only hopes that the 2 children can grow up happily and healthily, and it would be best if this great war is over when they are sensible. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 477. Time flies, days and months pass by like shuttles. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months have passed. The war is still going on, not weakening at all, but becoming more and more intense. Dingai King City and Shuiyu Palace, covered by the World Tree, may be the only pure land in the entire 3 realms. No matter how turbulent the outside world is, it is still peaceful here. In 3 months, the 2 little lives have grown up and look very cute. The 2 little guys are indeed much smarter than normal children. Generally speaking, babies will raise their heads in 1 to 2 months, turn over in 3 months, sit in 6 months, crawl in 8 months, stand in 10 months, and walk and talk in more than 1 year old. For the 2 little guys, this process is greatly shortened. In 3 months, the 2 little guys can chase and play in the small courtyard. You 2 run slower, Xiaojin is not going to bully his sister. Lin Suying looks at the 2 children like this every day, and her heart is filled with happiness. Su Xian also lies on a chair, chatting with his wife every day, basking in the sun, and teasing the children when he is bored, leisurely and comfortable. This kind of life is exactly what he dreams of. A life of living a simple life. He does whatever he wants, without too much material and spiritual pressure. But he knows that if he wants to be truly happy forever, he must continue on that path. Su Xian's eyes fell on the 2 children. These days, he didn't know how many times he had used the eye of the divine mentor to pay attention to his children, and he confirmed it over and over again. Sometimes it was just such a coincidence. The 10th and 11th disciples he wanted to find had never been found. But he found an opportunity in his own son and daughter. Lolialo. Su Xiaojin was very naughty and often bullied his relatively well-behaved sister. He also knew how to stick out his tongue, make faces, and twist his buttocks to mock. Humph, the daughter Su Xiaoxiao was much quieter. She liked to pretend to be mature from time to time and ignored her naughty brother. The eye of the divine mentor swept over Su Xiaojin. Root bone value, 200. Comprehension value, 100. Mind value, 2. Compatibility with the secret art reversal of the void, 99%. Existing physique or bloodline, small chaos body. Suitable physique or bloodline, 100% compatibility with the space god body. Su Xiaoxiao. Root bone value, 150. Comprehension value, 150. Mind value, 3. Compatibility with the secret art reversal of the time, 99%. Existing physique or bloodline, small chaos body. Suitable physique or bloodline, 100% compatibility with the time god body. The root bone value and comprehension value of the two little guys are in a state of growth almost every day, but they have reached such a terrifying situation in just 3 months. This also proves that his children are indeed extraordinary. The children all inherited the little chaotic body, which is the evolution of the chaotic body. This should be the reason why the two children are so smart. It's just that they have too little experience and have never come into contact with outsiders. The children's mentality is still at a very low level, which is the same as Xyli. The children learn things very quickly. But Su Xian still doesn't plan to let them practice now. At such a young age, any mistake in practice may cause fatal injuries, so there is no need to rush for success. One morning, Su Xian was feeding his daughter, and the voice of the world tree suddenly sounded in his ears. Master, the abyss world has changed. I just suddenly felt that there are a lot of life sources gathering in the abyss world. It is very likely that there will be a big change. Please pay attention. Su Xian frowned. Daddy. Daddy. The daughter sat on the table, her little hands swaying back and forth, and directly covered Su Xian's face. Su Xian forced a smile, but he was worried in his heart. He felt the dynamics of the three realms through the will of the world tree. As the master of the world tree, he also felt clearly that the abyss was undergoing a great change, and the origin of life was surging. What's going on? After all, the abyss is ruled by the Lord God. Su Xian was indeed worried. If the Lord God of the abyss made some more troubles while he was unable to move, Blue Star might not be able to resist. What's wrong with my husband? Lin Suiying could detect any subtle differences in Su Xian. Something big must have happened to make her husband look like this. Something has happened in the abyss. Su Xian said truthfully, I knew that the abyss was not that simple. They were both life worlds, and their worlds were ruled by real Lord Gods after all. It is a super life world, and both the world area and the evolutionary form are higher than Blue Star and Lulin Star. Lin Suiying seemed to remember something. Husband, have you heard of the return of the origin of life? She remembered that her teacher had mentioned this concept to her before. I don't know. Su Xian shook her head. The return of the life origin means the death of a life in a world, and part of his life origin will return to the world. You should know this, Lin Suiying explained. Yes. Su Xian nodded. The God's life world fusion plan uses this point. The outbreak of the war between the two worlds will cause a large-scale death of world life. These life origins will promote the process of world fusion. In the end, the lives of the two life worlds will merge together, and the world origins of the two worlds will naturally unite. The life origin and the world origin are inseparable. Lin Suiying said, normally, after the origin of life returns, the world will naturally breed new life, so that a world can have everlasting vitality. Blue Star and Lulin Star will also breed new life, but this process will be very slow. If the human race on Blue Star is extinct, It may take tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years for intelligent life and extraordinary people to appear in the future. As soon as these words came out, Su Xian immediately understood something. You mean? Because of the existence of the Lord God of the Abyss, he can interfere with the will of the entire Abyss world and speed up the process of the Abyss world breeding powerful life. The Lord God relies on the ultimate will of the chaotic universe and the will of the super life world to condense the Godhood and achieve the Lord God's position. In a sense, the Lord God is above the super life world. Even if the super life world is destroyed, the Lord God will still not be affected too much. At most, his strength will decline a little, but he can still cultivate other life worlds. The Lord God of the Abyss can do such a thing as sneak attacking himself from a distance. Is there anything he can't do? Although he thought that the game between the ultimate bosses of the Chaos universe would restrict each other, it was possible that the Lord of the Abyss would ignore it if the real fire came out. The way God thinks cannot be measured by human thoughts. Looking at the cute children who were just learning to speak, the couple's expressions became more and more solemn. What Su Xian is most worried about now is that if the Abyss creates an Abyss life with the same strength as the 8 ancient Abyss monarchs again, who else on Blue Star can compete with it? Although he crushed the 8 ancient monarchs. But at present, there is a gap in strength below him, and no one else on Blue Star can do this. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 478. The 4th month after Su Xiaojin and Su Xiaoxiao were born. The war between the Abyss world and the two worlds fell into a truce again. The Abyss withdrew its troops across the board again. The soldiers of Blue Star cheered wildly. After 5 months of continuous fighting, they finally forced the Abyss back again, which greatly boosted the morale of the Blue Star army. Only Tian Baiyu and Moira could detect the abnormality. Withdrawal again. Moira looked at the countless lives that rushed back to the Abyss world, and her uneasiness became stronger. In this war, Blue Star was at a disadvantage from beginning to end, but the Abyss retreated twice, giving Blue Star many breathing times. This was unreasonable. After the first withdrawal, when the troops attacked again, there was almost no change in the low-end battlefield. On the contrary, the resistance of the human race who built fortifications was greatly enhanced. However, the ultimate battlefield where Su Xian was located was violently turbulent. At that time, the battle shook the entire 3 worlds and shocked all life. She knew it at that time. Su Xian bore all the pressure of the changes in the Abyss after the first withdrawal. As expected. Although Su Xian won the battle with difficulty, he also lost his fighting power and no longer participated in the next battle. The 8 ancient Abyss monarchs were all killed. What about the second withdrawal? What changes will the Abyss have? Now that Su Xian can no longer participate in the war, who will take up the banner? Let's ask Su Xian first. Moira didn't know what happened in the ultimate battlefield. Only by meeting Su Xian could she find out everything. Not only Moira, but other senior leaders of the Blue Star Alliance had similar ideas. Now only Su Xian knew the situation of the entire battlefield, so naturally everything had to be discussed with Su Xian. After arranging the fortifications, all the strong men rushed to Dingai King City. At this time, Su Xian was playing the game of eagle catching chickens with his children on the world tree, and they were having a lot of fun. Lin Suiying was knitting clothes on the side. Even if Su Xian has prepared the world's top equipment for his children, he can't resist the heart of a mother. The happy scene was seen by many powerful people who came. The top bosses in this world were dumbfounded. Those 2 children were Su Xian's children? The news of Lin Suiying's pregnancy had spread in the circle a long time ago. It's just that the war was urgent and no one paid much attention to this matter. Now I remember that it's already past the age of 10 months of pregnancy. The daughter of His Majesty Su Xian and King Shuiya should be 4 months old. Can she run and talk at 4 months old? Can she jump 1 meter high? As expected of His Majesty Su Xian's children, they actually broke the tradition of congenital deficiency of human blood. Dad. Daughter Su Xiao saw the powerful people who came to visit and said excitedly, "Fly! Fly!" Son Su Xiaojin also asked, "Dad, what is that?" "That is." Su Xian paused, "Those are all very powerful uncles and aunts." As he said that, a group of powerful people fell down, including Moira, Tian Baiyu, Bai Sha and other senior leaders of the Blue Star Alliance. Swish. At this moment, a golden light shot over, passed by the crowd and hugged Su Xiaojin and Su Xiao, and then they kissed each other like a Trojan horse. Wow! Xiao Li's eyes flashed, Xiao Jin and Xiao are so cute. He kissed a few more times. The two little guys were drooling all over their faces. The two little guys were about to cry, until they saw Xiao Li's cheeks clearly. The little guy blinked and said with a smile, "Sister, it's sister." Xiao Li came back several times in the past few months, but each time he left in a hurry. However, the two little guys were impressed by their sister and liked her very much. "Xiao Li, stop kissing." Lin Suying didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xiao Li's love for her younger siblings exceeded her as a mother, and she couldn't bear to leave her younger siblings for even a second every time she came back. She was still a child and she took on the important task of feeding her younger siblings. He. Xiao Li then let go of her younger siblings and threw herself into Su Xian and Lin Suying's arms and acted coquettishly for a while, treating them equally. Moira walked to Lin Suying and said with a smile, "Xiao Suying, you are so mean, aren't you? You didn't tell me when the baby was born. You agreed to let me be the godmother of the baby." "The war is more important," Lin Suying smiled, "there is no rush now. A pair of twins, a boy and a girl, so happy." Moira sighed, "Have you named the children?" "Yes," Lin Suying nodded, "the brother is Xiaojin and the sister is Xiao." "That's Xiaojin Lai." Moira smiled and said, "I'll hug them." "The two children won't be shy, right?" Lin Suying replied, "They were a little shy at first, but after being played with by Xiaoli twice, they have evolved in the direction of Xiaoli." "Ha." Moira held her forehead, "Wouldn't it be better if they were all as well behaved and confident as Xiaoli?" Moira came to the two little guys and said seriously, "Baby, come here and let the godmother hug you." Su Xiaojin and Su Xiao stared at Moira curiously. "This aunt is so pretty. It's just a little different from other uncles and aunts." After a brief thought, the two little guys walked over unsteadily. Sure enough, the baby also likes pretty aunts. The next time almost became a time for Su Xiaojin and Su Xiao to be the group's favorite. Zhang Mu, Xianyu and Qing, Sun Xiaokong, Miao Tian and other disciples, except Lao Ba Wuxin, carefully prepared gifts for the two little guys. Although these gifts are not worth mentioning compared to what Su Xian prepared, they are enough to make others envious. It just proves that saying. Some things are not available when you are born, and you will never have them in this life. The two little guys laughed so hard that they couldn't close their mouths. To them, these things are just toys. Now they don't know what status they are in the second generation. "Xiao Li, take your brothers and sisters to play." Everyone praised the two little guys for a long time, and Su Xian asked Xiao Li to take the two little guys to play somewhere else. The moment the abyss withdrew, he naturally noticed it through the world tree. It must be related to the Lord of the Abyss. Last time, the Lord of the Abyss recalled the Abyss army and strengthened the 8 ancient Abyss monarchs, which caused him some trouble. In the end, the Lord of the Abyss even shot him from a distance, trying to kill him. If it weren't for the thick skin of the silly penguin, he would have been injured if he had resisted. Now the Abyss army has retreated again, and it may be even more terrifying when it comes back again. The riot of the life source of the Abyss world a month ago is likely related to this. "Your Majesty Su Xian, when will you recover?" A senior member of the Blue Star Alliance asked anxiously, in the next battle, without you, we have no idea. And what happened in the ultimate battlefield that day? Can your Majesty tell us? For the more intense war that may come next, we must be fully prepared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 479. I will definitely not be able to fight again in the next battle. With the first sentence, Su Xian poured cold water on the senior officials of Blue Star. This is indeed the case. In the ultimate battlefield, I killed the 8 ancient monarchs, but I also encountered a more powerful existence. That person and I should not be able to participate in the battle again. But I can't guarantee whether there will be a bigger change. For example, whether there is a more powerful existence than the 8 ancient monarchs hidden in the abyss, so everyone should make the worst plan and have the determination to fight to the death. Su Xian still didn't say the 4 words Lord of the Abyss. The word God puts too much pressure on people. The gap between demigods and gods is like the difference between the sea and the stream. After all, the demigod realm is just the name of the realm set by the life of Blue Star itself, and gods are another existence that has completely separated from the level of life. The faces of the senior officials of Blue Star were bitter. An existence more powerful than the 8 ancient abyss monarchs. What level of super strong people would that be? Apart from His Majesty Su Xian, His Majesty Tian Baiyu, the strongest of Blue Star, is still not a match for an ancient abyss monarch when he exerts his full strength. If there is a stronger one, wouldn't it be? The many strong men woke up at this moment. Without Su Xian, they seemed to have lost the ability to think about problems. They were also in a difficult situation before, and they had survived the arrogant Lulan Star. Why can't we do it now? Your Majesty Su Xian, we will hold on. If you can't make a move, we will take over the banner of Blue Star and will definitely not lose. The senior officials were not discouraged. They believed that the luck of the chaotic universe favored Blue Star, otherwise Blue Star would have lost in the initial war with Lulan Star. They were able to get here step by step because everyone insisted. In short, everyone just do their best. Tian Baiyu smiled. Everyone go back from now on, mobilize all the resources of the entire Blue Star, stop all internal consumption activities, and fully supply the battlefield. He saw it clearly. Some gaps cannot be crossed. In the next battle, all they can do is to hold on until Su Xian recovers and re-enters the battlefield, and then they can reverse the situation. Otherwise, they will surely lose. Su Xian has done enough, and it is their turn to do something for Su Xian. We are leaving too. Tian Baiyu, Bai Sha and others also said goodbye to Su Xian and left, leaving only a few disciples. Everyone sit down. Su Xian smiled and asked the disciples to sit down. Su Xian still had several chaos stones left in his hand, and naturally he would give them to his disciples, including Su Xiaojun and Su Xiaoxiao. The 2 little guys are both his cubs and his disciples. Swish. Su Xian waved his hand, and several chaos stones emerged. Take one each. The disciples were stunned. Chaos stones. So many? As expected of a teacher, with a familiar formula and a familiar taste, he is always so arrogant. This time, the disciples were no longer polite. After all, the eldest brother, the second sister, the third sister, the fourth brother, and Zioki all had their own chaos stones. They had been envious for a long time. If it were placed in other sects, they would probably have had internal conflicts due to uneven distribution. But there was no such trouble under the teacher. No matter what precious things, the teacher would get them and treat them equally. The disciples each took the appropriate chaos stone. Ding, you have given the disciple. The system prompts kept ringing in my mind. A total of 11 original Chaos Stones were obtained from the Goblin King Kuro, the Dark Elf Daisy, the Mechanical Lifeform Turo, and the 8 Ancient Abyss Monarchs. These 11 are almost the strongest or strategic resource controllers of Lowland Star and the Abyss world except for the Abyss Lord. Including Su Xiaojin and Su Xiaoxiao, Su Xian now has exactly 11 disciples. Everything is so suitable. And so unsuitable. 11 pieces of Taiji Tiandi sword fragments already exist in the system space, and only the last piece is needed to synthesize the supreme artifact Taiji Tiandi sword that controls the world. If he can find the 12th disciple before the end of the chess game and get the 12th piece of Taiji Tiandi sword, the initiative of this chess game will fall into his hands instantly. Unfortunately, after searching for countless geniuses, there is still no suitable 12th disciple. Now his chaos body prototype has evolved again because of the birth of Su Xiaojin and Su Xiaoxiao, and the evolution degree has jumped directly from the previous 58% to 78%. But this time, no active skills were awakened. Instead, 2 powerful passive skills. Extreme affinity with time force and extreme affinity with space force. Real gods have the ability to twist time and space in the area. Even the pseudo-god realm of Zilong Monarch has a weaker ability to distort time and space. Time and space affinity is an ability that must be mastered on the road to becoming a god. There is only one piece left. My 12th disciple, where are you? For the first time, Su Xian wanted to accept a disciple so urgently. Compared to Su Xian's worries, the disciples were full of confidence. Holding the Chaos Stone in their hands meant a qualitative change for them, with infinite possibilities. They will definitely win the next battle more beautifully. Okay, all of you go practice. Su Xian waved his hand. Practice at the core of the world tree, which will help you feel the power of the Chaos Stone. Yes, teacher. The disciples left, leaving only Xianyu and Qingqing, who didn't pay much attention to cultivation. She was once a young girl, but now her black hair is mixed with more and more white hair. At this level, it is normal to have white hair after 100 years. The third child, however, dyed his hair white in his early 20s. It can be seen that he is worried and works hard on his research. Teacher, can I talk to you? Xianyu and Qingqing smiled and sat next to Su Xian, with a cunning look in her eyes. In fact, you concealed the situation, right? You let the disciples guess that there should be a real god in the Abyss world, right? The third child is very smart and observant. Su Xian sighed, I still can't hide it from you. There are gods in the Abyss. Then kill the gods. Xianyu and Qingqing smiled, disciple believes that the teacher can kill gods. You are the only true god in the disciple's heart. Su Xian smiled helplessly, when did you become the same as your senior brother? And are you not surprised at the existence of gods? He he. Xianyu and Qingqing smiled mysteriously, of course the disciple has noticed it. If it weren't for the teacher giving the disciple the Chaos Stone, perhaps the disciple would not have discovered it. When I got the Chaos Stone last time and studied the sample of the Abyss life, I found something wrong. The Abyss life is fundamentally different from the human race and the myriad races of Lowland Star. The disciple captured a special factor. Although it is only a small point, it has infinite power. From then on, the disciple has doubted it. Su Xian was stunned. Qingqing is really getting crazier and crazier. It has raised the alchemy research to such a height. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 480. Qingqing's talent in the field of alchemy is undoubted. Especially after receiving huge resource support, she almost always makes new breakthroughs in various researches. The upper limit of alchemical creation is also very high. It can be seen from the performance of the god envoy maker that the field of alchemy can also break through the limits and reach the realm of gods, but no one knows how to take this road for the time being. Qingqing, Please don't publicize this matter for the time being. Su Xian warned, you should also be careful when doing research. The power of the God of the Abyss is immeasurable, and even a teacher cannot guarantee that accidents will not happen. Don't worry, teacher, the disciple knows. The master and apprentice chatted for a long time. Evening. After lunch, the third child also went back to the research room, while the other disciples continued to practice at the core of the world tree. Xiaoli and his younger siblings played tirelessly all day long. Xiaojin and Xiaoxiao are also very attached to their sister. I played all day without thinking about my parents. Husband, I have something to discuss with you. The couple sat in the small courtyard and admired the strange moon. What's your tone? Su Xian smiled and said, the word discuss is used. I guess you have already decided. What do you want to talk about? Of course Su Xian understands his wife. Su Ying has always been a very independent woman. Although she can sometimes be silly and cute when she is with her, she is still the super strong woman who can stand alone outside. I'm going to fight next. Lin Suying looked at the sky, whether it is for the pure land of my home or to create a better future for my children, I cannot sit still and wait for death. At this time, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Lin Suying has always attached great importance to the justice of the country and the nation. Seeing countless compatriots struggling on the front line, she has been sitting at home, and she cannot sit still. I was pregnant before and had no choice. Now that her children have been born, she feels that it is time for her to do something again. Sure. Su Xian did not stop him. Lin Suying possesses the water moon factor given by her teacher, and has her own support. She is full of top-level resources such as chaos stones. As long as she breaks through the demigod realm, she will definitely be able to reach a new height. At least it is above the 80-level heaven level, or even higher. Judging from Miao Tian's performance, Su Ying should also undergo a qualitative change after breaking through to the demigod realm. It can indeed play a vital role in the subsequent war. Then shall I go? Lin Suying smiled. Go ahead. Su Xian also smiled, I'll go watch from the top of the tree and cheer you on. Lin Suying stood on tiptoes and kissed Su Xian, her eyes filled with soft light. Very nice. I never thought I would have the chance to protect you in this life. After that, she flew into the sky. Under her feet, the huge mirror lake spread out, and Lin Suying's temperament also changed little by little, from a gentle and cocoa wife to an iceberg goddess with extraordinary temperament. Boom! At this moment, the heaven and earth roared. The beautiful mirror lake attracts the attention of countless people. The goddess walking barefoot on the mirror lake is even more dazzling. That's King Shuiyu. After more than a year, will King Shuiyu finally enter the battlefield again? Lin Suying's previous performance on the battlefield has been remembered by countless people. She is so popular that she is the Valkyrie in the hearts of thousands of soldiers. So beautiful. Even the precursor to a breakthrough is so beautiful, it's really. Don't think too much, be careful. Su Xianmian hears a snap of his fingers and kills you. The Shuiyu king is unparalleled in his elegance, and only His Majesty Su Xianmian can match him. I really envy this kind of love. Maybe this is a two-way street. When others break through, what everyone is looking forward to is the concentration of heavenly steps. Lin Suying's mirror lake world is magnificent, but it makes countless admirers calm down and just admire the beautiful people and scenery. Su Xian sat on the top of the world tree and watched. He could already feel the precursors of the vision, and the intensity was obviously much stronger than that of the previous demigods. The bells in heaven and earth rang. Large swaths of golden light fell from the sky. The road to heaven is accompanied by the sound of ancient bells. There have been too many recent phenomena that are rare to see in peaceful times. Times make heroes, and more heroes are coming forward. Lin Suying walked up the golden stairs. her body is constantly shifting between reality and reality. Countless strong men were looking forward to this scene, especially the few who knew Lin Suying's background were even more excited, looking forward to a miracle like Su Xian's. Step onto the first level of heaven. The ancient bell rings. The melodious and thick bells echoed between heaven and earth. Sometimes you can predict how far you can go on the road to heaven by listening to the sound of the bell at the beginning. The sound of the first bell shocked countless demigods. Obviously, Lin Suying's journey to heaven will definitely go very far. Even if he is not as good as Su Xian, he must be stronger than them. The water-moon factor formed an ethereal river behind Lin Suying, running through the sky. It looked like a ferry descending from the earth and ascending to the sky, which was shocking. "Dad, which floor do you think Mom can go to?" The little carp came over at some point. "Mom. Mom. Mom. Fly. Fly." Su Xiaojun and Su Xiaoxiao sat on the edge of the treetop, waving their short legs, clapping their hands, and staring at their mother in the distance with their big, clear, and innocent eyes, unblinking. "I guess the 99th floor." Su Xian smiled. Xiao Li squatted there, holding his chin with both hands, shaking his head. "Mom is not as good as Dad, it's impossible for her to reach the 99th floor." "That's not necessarily true." Su Xian smiled. According to his understanding, the 8 ancient monarchs of the abyss have all reached the 99th floor, and he doesn't know if their strength is at the same level as his. After all, he has been a little special because of his chaotic body. He thinks Su Ying's potential is not weaker than those ancient abyss monarchs. He also accumulated a lot of resources on Su Ying, and Su Ying's teacher is the boss corresponding to the projection on the 96th floor of the sky. With the training of such a teacher, plus so many favorable conditions, it should be no problem to surpass an ancient abyss monarch. In just a few words of conversation, Lin Suying has already reached more than a dozen levels of the sky and reached the most classic 21st floor. The demigods of Blue Star seem to have formed a tacit understanding. Every time you reach the 21st floor, you have to stay for a few more seconds. It may be this trend that makes those kings dare not break through too quickly. Whoever replaces the title of the weakest demigod will be talked about for the rest of his life. Lin Suying walked very easily in the first 50 floors, as if walking on flat ground. After the 51st floor, although the pace was a little slower, it only consumed a little strength, and it was still far from the real limit. The sound of the ancient bell was getting louder and louder. It was like the sound of hope surrounding everyone's ears. Su Xian's injury made countless strong men panic, and they urgently hoped that another strong man would stand up and continue to lead them. Perhaps His Majesty Su Xian's wife, Queen Shuiyu, is the next person to carry the flag.